Well, it was a bit of a disaster for Manchester United. They've been beaten 6-1 by Tottenham Hotspur in their third Premier League game of the season. And I say a bit of a disaster, but it was a total disaster, wasn't it?
It was. There is nothing to console Manchester United fans or staff or anyone that has a feeling for them tonight on today's game. I mean, the only excuse you can give is that the red card on Anthony Martial, who isn't a violent or an aggressive type player, I thought was very harsh. I thought Lamela, if there was cards to be given out, Lamela should have got one, and he didn't get one. And the one of Martial's was rather harsh, I felt, by Anthony Taylor, who's not a rash type referee. He's not one who makes very demonstrative decisions, and he walked very calmly towards Martial and gave him the red. But that had an impact on the game. It was only 2-1 at that stage, 28 minutes gone. Anything can happen from there. But I would have to say the Spurs were playing very well and exposing Manchester United's defence frequently up until that point, just before the incident and the sending off. Spurs had peppered the Manchester United goal with shots and crosses and opportunities, and should have really been 3-1 ahead anyway. So that had a major impact on the game, but still the lack of organisation or fight or determination, the Manchester United team after that to keep the score down and keep themselves in the game was startling.
The defence really was all over the place, Brian, and I don't know what to make of the United defence, because we know there's players in there who are liable to make mistakes. He brought in Eric Bailly today. Perhaps he thought he might be better with Maguire instead of Lindelof. But we've seen they can make mistakes, yet they had so many clean sheets in the second half of last season. People thought, well, maybe this defence isn't so bad. I don't know what to make of it. And when you look ahead into the next few games that they have to play, he's going to have to sort that out pretty quick, because he's got Paris Saint-Germain, he's got RB Leipzig, who are another good attacking side. So that's a big concern, United returning to the Champions League. Would you be confident Solskjaer can fix the problems he has at the back? Is it a case of he can do it better with the players that he has, or does he need better defenders?
Well, I think you got to look at the individuals and look over time how things have gone with those individuals. I think Lindelof overall has done okay and has always looked a decent player. He bought from Benfica. I liked him when he played for Sweden. I think he was unfortunate in the match with Crystal Palace, in that the handball, the penalty he was given against him, should never have been given. And I think that put a lot of focus and blame on him has been part of the defence. I think him and Harry Maguire rather together are not a top combination. They both lack a bit of pace, and they both lack speed as well on the turn when his play had been behind them over the top. But they're also burdened by the fact at the moment that neither of the full backs are particularly reliable. Shaw is, I thought Shaw had a dreadful game today. He's had a lot of niggly injuries in and out. Wan-Bissaka on the other side is quite a decent defender, but he was caught up in the whole shambles that it was today. David De Gea has had a sticky time. Was he at fault in any of the goals today? Not majorly. You couldn't pick him out and say that was a bad mistake from him. But overall, his form hasn't been very good. But I think there's more serious problem is the organisation of the midfield and the protection provided for that back four. If Manchester United's style, and we've heard much talk about, we're back, we're gone back to the United way, and that's about attacking play and forward attacking players and fast wide players like Rashford and Greenwood, without them playing wide all the time, and Bruno Fernandes being the creative one off the front behind Martial, and full backs raiding forward. If that's the Manchester United way, well then there has to be players in the midfield that give a balance to that and that protect and mind the centre backs when the full backs are both gone. And at the moment they don't have that. That's where they've been getting exposed as they were today in lots of ways. We're exposed on Son's goal in that, I know Harry came into the middle of the pitch and Maguire goes in after him and gives away the free kick and the ball is stuck in behind him. But there was numerous times today the ball was stuck in in behind Shaw or outside Shaw, and he's in too far marking Lamela. Didn't seem to have an organisation about the team, about Matic or Pogba taking responsibility to get across. I mean, it's their responsibility. If Fernandes is an attacking player, well then the responsibility of the two sitters is to mind, protect, and fill in vacant spaces where your defenders have gone into advanced positions, or your midfield, the other midfield player, Pogba in most cases, Fernandes always are leaving gaps. And they just didn't do that, and they didn't do it against Brighton either. They were fortunate to get away with the win against Brighton. They were exposed against Palace on the counter-attack. Palace, I think, had less than 25% of possession in the match, but they won the match fair and square 3-1.
To ask you finally on United then, naturally his ex-teammates come out in defence, well, not maybe in defence of Solskjaer, well they do to a certain extent, Gary Neville, Rio Ferdinand, Patrice Evra, and they all seem to be taking shots at the top brass at Old Trafford, Ed Woodward and the Glazers. So when does Solskjaer start to come in for criticism? When do you think it's fair to criticise? Because it seemed to me today that Mourinho spotted United's weaknesses and went for them, whereas Solskjaer didn't seem to do the same for his side. We know Aurier is a bit of a weak link. He didn't really attack that side of the Tottenham defence.
They did early in the game and they got the goal from that. But after that, the game started to run away from them, and they conceded 2 goals. I mean, remember, I think it was 2-1 after 7 minutes, Stephen, and United were exposed. So your question really is about Solskjaer. Should he be coming under pressure now? I think he is under pressure. I think Manchester United's manager, we've seen it since Alex went. They've gone through, 3 very renowned managers. David Moyes had a very high reputation when he went there. Van Gaal had a very, very high reputation, and Mourinho, the highest of all currently, I suppose, in terms of his most recent successes at Chelsea before he went there, what he'd done with Inter Milan, what he'd done at Porto, what he'd done at Chelsea in the previous time, and yet they were all worn down by it, and none of them were successful. Mourinho made the case that he said it was his best job ever to get Manchester United to second with the squad of players he had, and he was being very critical of the board. So he moves on, and now they have Solskjaer, who remembered he got the job when he was in on a temporary basis after Mourinho went, and because of the results, I think he went and he had a great run. He won 10 games in a row in all competitions, and suddenly he's the man. Now he hadn't had a brilliant managerial career before that he would have expected to be the manager of Manchester United. He done very well at Molde, didn't go so well at Cardiff, but it was already in bad nick when he got there. We're back to Molde and did well again. Is that preparation for Manchester United? Probably not, for the pressures of the manager's job, Manchester United, and the expectancy of one of the biggest club in the world without doubt. So he's definitely under pressure. I wouldn't recommend that they should get rid of him by any means, but I don't have any say in it. I don't think anyone's going to be listened to my opinion too much on it anyway. But given that Pochettino is such a highly rated manager and he's out of work and he's around there must be some thoughts. And as Joe said to me in the earlier discussion, it would certainly take the pressure off those people who make the decisions in the club about players and comings and goings and managers. It would take pressure off them and take them out of the limelight a little bit if they got a new manager.
Then quickly on Jose Mourinho, because it looks like he's brought in 3 or 4 players himself and Daniel Levy who have improved the team. I know it's early days. We won't get carried away with this 6-1 because it is a bit of a freak result, you'd have to say. But he's also got 2 attacking players, Son and Kane, who are absolutely in fantastic form. You'd expect them to bag maybe 50, 60 goals between them in the league this season. So with that in mind, and as I said, it is early days, do you think he will, as you say, he's targeting a cup? Will he win one of those? Will he get top 4? What's the best they can hope for?
Well, we know Mourinho's form. He's about trying to win trophies and claiming the glory for it himself. He's very good at putting up the fingers and pointing out how many trophies he's won. Sometimes there might be only a trophy that they won, like a community shield type thing, where you win one match to win it, but he would claim it as a big deal, or the Super Cup or something like that. But he's had an ability to get teams over the line in cup competitions as well. So I actually think that he's already put his focus. We saw him at Manchester United go on to win the Europa League, and there was a piece with Wayne Rooney today, the Sunday Times, where he said that they knew from the quarter-final on that he was determined to win that, to the degree that he put the importance of making the top four, putting that aside, that his priority was to win the Europa League, which gained him a Champions League spot, guaranteed it the next season, and that's what he did. So I think he's on the same lines already with Spurs. His intention, he put out a very strong team against Maccabi. He put out a strong team in the two earlier rounds also, and they won the match the other night convincingly in the end. He put out a strong team on Tuesday against Chelsea in the League Cup and got through on penalties. The fact that he brought Harry Kane on in the match would indicate it was important. He didn't start the team that played against Newcastle on Sunday, obviously, but I think it's quite possible. But there's a long road to go. They're in the quarter-final, the League Cup, Europa League. You'd have to win there's 6 games in the group, and then you've got another 4 knockout rounds, which are
58 matches.
Oh yeah, I think all round you have to win something like 7. Well, you get through 17 games to win the Europa League, and they're only at the start of that process.
That's good on Tottenham. Just to finish then, Brian, you said during the game, as we all know, it is a blow that Seamus Coleman will miss this playoff against Slovakia, the semi-final. He's almost certain to miss the game. Stephen Kenny told us today, a hamstring tweak yesterday in that win for them at Goodison Park. Thankfully Matt Doherty came through today unscathed because he didn't see any time on the pitch.
Unless he got injured getting onto the bus.
Oh, fingers crossed he didn't.
Which as a manager you often fear something as massive. Or a fella wakes up in the morning with a creak in his neck. I had a few of them over my years of management. Someone comes to you in the morning and says, "What's wrong?" "On my neck. I don't know what happened."
Slept with the window open.
And it's almost, but you have to expect the unexpected when you're managing. Even if you think the players are all in great nick, anything can happen, even in the morning of a game. So Stephen would be hoping the players get through it today.
He did mention as well, he spoke about all his midfield players, the likes of Jeff Hendrick, Jay Malumbi's getting games. So a lot of the players who weren't maybe playing in the lead up to the other game are getting matches now. We saw Ireland, they were a bit sluggish in the game against Finland. Shane Duffy's now playing regularly at Celtic, so we'd expect all the players to be a lot sharper. He doesn't have too many injury concerns, thankfully. So would you be feeling optimistic now going into this game against Slovakia, albeit with very little preparation time?
Yeah, I think I'd be reasonably optimistic. We've an away game where the opposition won't have any supporters. And any difficulties we're having about training and the amount of sessions and getting the messages across the manager wants to get, Slovakia will be having the same problem because their players are dispersed even further away. At least ours are mainly they're in Britain. Shane Duffy obviously in Scotland, the rest are in England. Jack Bourne is here in the League of Ireland, but they're close. Whereas Slovakian players are playing in many countries around Europe, and Hamsik is in China, and they've a couple of players in America as well. So it'll be more difficult for them. Yes, the players have had a lot more football since those 2 games, which were frankly disappointing. Bulgaria and Finland, we didn't play particularly well. You could see signs of what Stephen wanted the players to do in terms of keeping possession, building up the play towards the pitch, full backs in advanced positions, playing out in the back, split centre halves, full backs pushed up. Neither of them looked particularly comfortable on the ball, trying to build up the play from the back. I thought the full back positions were too advanced. When we lost possession, we were exposed. Matt Doherty doesn't get back quick enough from that advanced position. But they have all had much more football now, particularly, I think, and more importantly, James McCarthy, Horan and Hendrick, the midfield 3, who I would say they'll be the 3 rather than the 3 that played in the second game with Finland. The front players, Ada hasn't had much football since then. I think McGoldrick should be coming in that position. Connolly's been playing regularly and playing well at Brighton. O'Dowda has, I have a feeling for O'Dowda. I think he's a good player. Robinson played well for West Brom last week and got a couple of goals. So that's all positive that the players have been getting much more football. So, but don't underestimate how much Slovakia want to win the match as well. They want to qualify for these finals, maybe as much as we do, maybe not. But I don't think it's going to be easy by any means.